You counting them?
They're feeding me over something.
They keep coming. What the hell?
So what you just saw was in fact not an alien invasion. It was the launching of the Starlink satellites that are designed to provide broadband internet to the entire world. It's one of Elon Musk's pet projects. But for a second, we were like, this is it. This is the end of the human race. So that was kind of freaky that night when we were just hanging out.
We were so freaked out.
You see something like you've never seen before. So we are coming to you from Capitol Reef National Park in Utah.
So to get from Bryce Canyon to Capitol Reef National Park, we decided to take Route 12, which is a scenic byway, and it takes you through an incredible tour of Utah. One of the towns we stopped in was Escalante, about halfway through.
We stopped at this eatery called Circle D, and just offhand I ordered one of the beers they had on tap, and it was this jalapeno beer from Wasatch Brewery, and it tasted like liquid jalapeno. It was crazy, on point, incredibly refreshing, nice and spicy, not too much. Favorite beer of the trip so far, I would say. The byway brings you through varying types of terrain. We went through Dixie National Forest, which was really cool, and we were like, oh man, it'd be great to spend a few nights here, but we had to keep on trucking to get to Capitol Reef.
Capitol Reef only has one developed campground called Fruta, and it's very small and very hard to get reservations at. And it also doesn't have any service, which we need. So we decided to find a boondocking spot just outside the park, and we were so happy with what we found. The Capitol Reef area has tons of dispersed camping, and it's beautiful.
I think this is the coolest site we've ever boondocked on. We had our own like grove of trees with like a fire pit in the middle. The only weird thing was that there were bones everywhere. And I figured they were from cows that may have died. It's definitely a pasture area. But that was freaky at first when you just see like bones all around the site. I was like worried it was like an Indian burial ground, you know, or something like that, and we were sitting on some bad juju.
It was really great to be able to boondock and have so much space from our neighbors, and we had great cell service, so it was really perfect.
Yeah, somebody actually pulled up and was like, can I put my trailer here? And I kind of was like, no, dude. Like, we came out here for a reason. Yeah. And they were nice about it, but I was just like, why would you, like, pull right up next to us?
And there's so many
There's
sites.
so many spots.
There's so many sites. That's like boondocking etiquette, right? Like, you try to be respectful of your neighbors. Like, don't park in a campsite with somebody if you can literally park 100 miles away by yourself. So Capitol Reef itself is a really large national park in Utah, but it's actually one of the least visited. And so because of that, it feels really quiet, and that was a really welcome surprise for us after being at Zion and Bryce, which are two of the most visited parks in the US. We really weren't expecting much. It was really just supposed to be kind of a stopover place to get us to our next destination, and we ended up really, really enjoying it there.
Even visiting Fruta nearby, it's cool because you have these red rocks everywhere, but then this really lush green area nestled in there.
One of the really special things about Capitol Reef is that it has the Fremont River running right through it. The early pioneers who settled here in Fruta developed these orchards, and they lived here because it was so fertile and because of the Fremont River, and the remains of those orchards are still there today. So that's a really cool thing to drive into, to see these orchards, and there's like deer everywhere. It just felt so out of place in this very, you know, otherwise dry red desert.
Another cool thing about our campsite was on one side we had these snow-capped rolling hills, which kind of reminded us of Vermont or New Hampshire or Maine. And then on the other side you had like the red rock cliffs and mesas. It was really weird to just like turn your head between those two settings.
Capitol Reef has lots of great hiking, and because there aren't as many people in the park, it's easy to find a hike where there aren't a lot of crowds. I myself went on a bunch of hikes while Jesse was working, including one into this gorge, which was so cool. You got to drive right in between this like narrow canyon all the way to the end of this gorge trail and then walk into it, and there were petroglyphs.
We also did the Hickman Bridge hike because Christina wanted to see a natural bridge, or an arch, if you will. So you hike through this dry creek bed, and there's water pockets everywhere. And there are these holes that you kind of drop into like cenotes almost, like in Mexico, except they're much smaller. But you can see where the river flowed and carved out these water pockets. That would be an awesome spot to camp out if you were able to. We also saw a fair amount of petroglyphs in the area, and there were some right along the road that we saw, and it was crazy. They almost looked like little astronauts. Remember, like they had the big heads and stuff? or little aliens. So to continue the theme of this this update, a lot of alien action, but we're always looking for signs of the original natives that lived in the area. So seeing those petroglyphs up close was really cool.
The last thing we did at Capitol Reef is we went to see the goosenecks and Sunset Point, which is a really easy access point right outside the entrance of the park. Goosenecks is just a short walk from the parking lot, and you can see this amazing canyon that is cut in to the side of the gorge there.
Sunset Point, as its name implies, is this really popular spot to watch the sunset with the cliffs in the background. And it was crazy. There were a ton of people there. Like, everybody flocked there, but we were able to post up on this rock and have our own little place where we could watch it in peace. It was spectacular to see the sunset across the desert with the mesas and everything in the foreground. That was amazing. So from here we have a quick stop in Moab, and then we're going to be heading to Ouray, Colorado, and we are ready to be done with the desert and get into the mountains. We're very pumped for that to begin the Colorado leg, so we will see you guys there.
Bye.